Mother Funny Time with Andie and Angie.
2 cousins, 8 kids, 1 grandkid, 2 states.
And a whole lot of fun. Woo! Welcome back, Mother Funny Tribe. It's Angie and Andie, and we're stoked, psyched to see you. You're better than a bag of chips.
Yeah, girl.
Yaaas, queen.
Yes, 100%. My girls say that all the time. And anytime they go, yes, queen, I'm like, thank you.
I am the queen. Thank you.
That's right. And girls call each other that. And I actually like that girls call each other queen, or this, yes is YAAS, just making sure everyone's aware. Like, it's not yes, it's Yaaas.
Yes.
Like, yes, queen. And like, we even had Brooklyn's birthday party here a couple weeks ago, and it was so cute to hear the girls all saying that to each other, and it's funny, but it's also kind of endearing. I would much rather.
You love the girl power.
Totally. I am on board for this yes queen. You have to say it a certain way.
For sure. For sure.
For sure. Now, in the last podcast, we did mention bruh or bro, depending on how they're going to say it. Have you seen those shirts, which are also memes, that say, like, nothing prepares you from going from ma to mama to mommy to mom to bruh?
Yeah.
Like, it's a shirt and it's a meme and it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And it's so true. I was hanging around someone who was, I think they're like 13 or 14. So Riley's age. And every other word was like, bruh, dude, bruh.
It's a lot.
Bruh.
It's a lot.
Bruh. And I was all, whoa. Because we said bro back in the day or whatever. But this is a new bruh. It's like the word like. It's replacing like with bruh.
Yes, and they say it, like you're saying, in very different tones. And it kind of also means something different in a way. Like, bruh, it could be like frustration, or it could be endearing, or it could be funny. Like, it just kind of depends how they use it. And for everybody, we kind of mentioned this, but not really in this podcast. We're talking about teenagers and the words and slang and phrases they use, because it is so different right now than what it used to be, in the sense that, like, in the last podcast, we talked about that could have been different regions or different areas. And now it's completely taken over, and teens are using this type of lingo and language. And if you try to listen to some teens talk, you might not understand what they're saying, because so many of those words are different than maybe words that you and I use as moms in just regular language.
We don't use that. But I would say it's younger teens. It's like preteens and younger teens. I think by the older teens, like 17, 18, they're not. They know what it means maybe, but they're not using it as much.
So today we're going to kind of talk about it, and it is pretty funny, and we're going to try to understand it, because as a mom, you do want to understand what your children are saying. You'd like to know what's going on.
And first, like, we came up with the lingo, and then we hit a generation where all of a sudden, like, the next generation brought up lingo, and you're like, hey. And then, like, I feel olded out. Like, I feel like, okay, I could get millennial lingo. Close enough, but after that I'm out. Like, then it's just silly.
I mean, nobody's saying groovy anymore. Like, our parents probably said groovy. Like, it was there and it moved on. And that's part of what is happening, though, is that these new words are forming, or kids are learning these new words, or they're saying these new words, but as quickly as it comes, sometimes then it's gone. Also, like, do you remember the Visco girl? Like, when Riley was in, like, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, that was, like, Visco girl was the whole thing, with, like, the scrunchie, the hydro flask, the puka shell necklace. Like, it was a whole thing. And as quickly as it came, like, it went. Nobody's talking about Visco girl anymore. Like, that is its own time. Yeah. And so part of this stuff that we're talking about is popular right now, but in 6 months might be gone. Who knows? I think bruh and bestie and queen will probably stay, hopefully, for a while. Or like slay, that might win. Slay. They're all using that. The one that does surprise me is Gucci.
Oh, yeah.
That one has honestly surprised me because they're not talking about like the luxury brand. I mean, some kids might here or there, but it really means like good or all is well. Or it's like if your kid or your teenager says like, oh, that's Gucci, like it's actually a good thing, right? It's something cool or something good. It doesn't mean that's Gucci the brand.
Well, I think it comes from Gucci the brand. Like Gucci like is something that's like high end, nice. So if they're saying like they're Gucci, if you're like you're Gucci, it's like you're good and classy like that.
It's Gucci inspired, but not necessarily
but
Gucci
not
the brand. You don't have to be wearing Gucci to say that's Gucci. That one surprises me, like to hear a 12-year-old be like, that's so Gucci. It's like,
how do you know Gucci?
Or TJ Maxx.
You should be saying that's Costco. That's Kirkland quality right there.
Yeah, dog. Remember dog? It was like a thing, like DAWG.
Yes.
Dog. Remember? Not now. That's not cool now.
I feel like they're so clever now. And like we were saying, like a lot of these, they're coming from like popular like YouTube and TikTok people, like people that maybe us moms aren't probably hearing, but these people have millions and millions of followers. And so all these kids are hearing, like Twitch streamers, all these things, like they're making these popular words and these kids are all hearing it and sharing it. And us moms are kind of out in the cold. And it's not until our kids come home and they're like, hey, yeah, there's this boy, he's got the rizz. And you're like, oh, the rizz. Okay, look, what's the rizz?
Ritz crackers?
That's what I called my grandson. I'm like, my grandson's got the rizz. He's rizz crackers. And they're like, Mom, that's how I'm like, what? He's rizz. The Rizzler. They say the Rizzler.
Well, and if you're saying your grandson has the rizz crackers, like that's just not cool. Like they're probably
it's
like,
not.
No.
It's I can yes, it's
no.
true.
And we should probably tell everyone that rizz is from the word charisma, right? So it's like someone who is game, so it's like Taylor has that rizz, like they're so charming. It could be in like charm or flirting with someone or cool, like it has its own. I like the idea of it coming from the word charisma and rizz coming from charisma. Like that makes sense to me. Some of these words you're like, I don't know how that makes sense or like how that connects. But like rizz, I get that. But kids use, it's so funny I keep saying kids. It's actually teenagers and preteens. They use rizz all the time. I mean, you hear that word all the time. But I would almost say like 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, nobody was saying rizz. Rizz is a newer one.
It's newer.
Yeah.
And mid is like, everything's okay. Oh, that's mid. My older teenager uses mid. Yeah. Like I'll say, how was the movie? Oh, it was mid.
The one so many people say, which I do now, is same. Same, right? Because it's like, oh, same. I can relate. Oh, yeah. I think what happened, this is my own personal opinion. Okay. And it could be wrong. But I've analyzed this. Like, why are we all saying same? Because sometimes it wouldn't make sense to even say same because you want to say me too. Oh, yeah, me too. You and I grew up saying, oh, yeah, me too. Now they go, same. Me
too is a whole different meaning.
I think because once me too became a different meaning and like hashtag me too happened, which was good and it needed to, and I support that 100%. Hashtag me too. I think there was a purpose for that. However, I think we can't say me too anymore. So we all started saying same.
Oh, brilliant. I think you're right.
My own interpretation, because one day I'm like, why are we all saying same? Because it doesn't come naturally to me. What comes naturally to me is say, oh, yeah, me too. But you don't say that. We say same.
I think I say hashtag me too when I agree. I'm like, me too, hashtag me too. But that's just me. Wow. Okay, so tell me, you have preteens and young teens in your house. Tell us what they're saying and what it means. Because I'm having to figure out and ask. I'm having to ask and research because I get taken off guard.
Sus is a big one. Yeah. Short for suspicious, right?
Yes.
So it's like questionable, like that's so sus, like something's fishy. Like, I don't know if I trust that situation, right? Or like, oh, that kid is sus. They all know
And
what that
makes
means.
Sense.
That one totally makes sense.
So I have a story. There was a kid, he was, again, Riley's age, and he was like, he's cool, and he was being cool, and I was being goofy, and he was not laughing. And I'm like, how do I make this kid laugh? Like, I was doing what I could to make him laugh. And then I walked up to some older, like Shiloh's age and a little older, and I'm like, what can I say that's going to make him laugh? And they're like, tell him he's a sussy baka. And I'm all, what? They're all like, just say it. So I walked over to him and I'm like, hey, you're a sussy baka. And he laughed. He was like, what? And so then I started using it randomly to people around that age. And they're like dying. They're like, how do you know what that is? And I'm like, I don't.
What does that mean?
Sus is like suspicious.
Right.
And a baka, it has something to do with like when somebody's pretending to be someone they're not. They're
a poser.
It would be like, I think a sussy baka is more like a poser.
A suspicious poser.
Yeah, but baka, I think it's something like that. It's some gamer term. Yeah.
See, Mother Funny Tribe, this is why we're having this conversation, because we're all trying to understand.
Known. I didn't know.
No. The one that gets me is that they're using the word preppy, but not how you and I use preppy. Like we would think like pop the collar, like Abercrombie and Fitch, like preppy. No, it's like an aesthetic. Oh, and all the kids say aesthetic. That's so aesthetic. That's so aesthetic. They all so much more say than aesthetic. We had Brooklyn's birthday party here, and we got these. I let her choose like the, like, oh, the cute plastic plates and like the forks. And we found like really cute like forks, knives, and spoons. And they were so cute. They were plasticky, but they were like pink, and they were the cutest like plastic ware I've ever seen. They had like such design, and the girls literally sat there and they're like, oh, look at these forks, they're so aesthetic, and like they took them home because they liked them so much. I was like, or you can throw them in the trash, but to hear
recycle bin.
But they loved it, and to hear like little 11-year-old girls being like, this fork is so aesthetic. It was so funny. But I mean, Brooklyn did a good job. Like she picked out everything, and it was super cute, and her friends like totally appreciated it. But preppy, that is more like bright colored clothes, like popular brands like Lululemon and Stanley. That's so preppy, right? Oh. So it's not like the basic like collared shirts. Basic? Yes.
Like if a girl is basic, is she preppy?
No, it's like more refined than basic. It's like a step above basic.
Okay.
So, like, if she's walking around with Lululemon and her Stanley, she's preppy. She's not the collared shirt that has stripes on it. That's
what if
preppy.
She was wearing
with
Gucci?
Boat shoes?
If she was wearing Gucci, she'd be preppy?
See, I don't know if she'd be Gucci or she'd be preppy. I don't know. See, that's what I don't know.
Like Gucci preppy?
Maybe.
Preppy Gucci?
It just depends who you're asking.
They probably have a whole other slang for that. Okay, but tell us more.
Okay, we have to mention this, and not that we want to, but if you get called a Karen, that's not good. I mean, and I know moms our age don't really say Karen, but if someone does say like, oh, she's a Karen, we all know that's kind of like an entitled mom. So moms, if your child or teenager is calling you a Karen and your name's not actually Karen, that's on purpose. Yes. What did you say, Andy? Martha?
Martha. I changed it to Martha to give Karens a break. I feel bad for all the Karens out there. Okay, so what are some other ones?
Ship. Because like relationship, right? That makes sense. Shade. We all know that one. Obviously. Yeah. Salty. Now, Andie in the last podcast talked about the word bitchin'. She did, not me. Homeschool Angie doesn't do that. But Andie mentioned it. But salty. Yeah. Right? So it's not actual salt, right? Like they're being salty. Like that's a person that's like angsty, bitter, upset about something, right? Like kind of like a bit of like salt of emotion. It's
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not actual salt.
You're being salty. Karens can be salty.
Well, that's
Karens
kind of what I was thinking about that.
Karens will be salty with the managers.
There you go. Yeah.
They're salty people. Okay.
So if your teenagers, like, that's so salty, or that person's so salty, doesn't mean like they put too much salt on their eggs.
Yeah.
Right? If they're calling you Karen, not the best thing. Vibe. Right? I'm vibing. Right? That's like the overall like atmosphere, the energy, the like feeling of a person, right? The place, the situation. It's kind of like that intangible aura. How do you say that word? Right?
Aura. Yeah.
Aura
I say
that surrounds something. Right? So it's like, I'm vibing with this song, you know? So that's like a way to describe like a positive, enjoyable, or harmonious experience. I mean, and in a way, it kind of goes to this generation being very aware. I kind of it seems like they're very aware of like people's emotions or of the environment or of the atmosphere. So it's like, oh, vibe, you know, I'm vibing with whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the gyatt one again.
Oh, yeah, this is huge. Mm-hmm.
During my half marathon, there was a group of young people holding a sign. Like, you know how there's like people who cheer on like the whole run and they hold signs and they're all funny. One was like something, I almost took a picture, but they were all standing there totally serious and they're like, run off your gyatt or something. And I was like, I know what that means because I've done my research.
Yes.
If I didn't have friends who had kids that age, I would have been like, gyatt, what's that? I would have had no idea. And it means a big butt. It just means a big butt.
And it's spelled like G-Y-A-T. Like, so you're looking at it like gyatt, like even how it's spelled is different, but it's gyatt. No, that's how they say it. And they all do, and it's just like, whatever.
And it's supposed to be like positive, right? Like a good butt or like I don't know.
I think so. I think teens right now are really, like we were saying, aware, so they don't want to say it in a negative way. So especially if someone's holding up a sign, I think that's to like encourage people.
It was an encouraging one, but it made me laugh because I actually knew it. And I'm like, yes.
And to go along with that would be glow up. Glow up. Glow, glow up. Right? So it's like a transformation in appearance. You know, it's like all of a sudden it's, you know, like maybe you feel a little more attractive or someone has, you know, become a little bit more attractive in your mind or the way you think. Think of like, okay, do you remember that movie where it was like that girl who was kind of nerdy in high school and then they were like, oh, we're going to try to help her.
She's all that.
She's all that. That's a total glow up, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful, different clothes. They cut her hair, I think. She put some makeup on. And all of a sudden, it was like this huge glow up situation. Yes. She's all that. One of my all-time favorite movies.
They don't do glow up movies anymore, I don't feel like. That was like early 2000s. When's the last time they had a good... There was You Can't Buy Me Love. Can't Buy Me Love. There was a bunch of them at that time where it was like the nerdy person and then they made a bet and then they were like cool. There was, the one with Tony Danza where his daughter turned 16. She's out of control. They don't do them anymore.
That. Yeah, so that's an example for our generation of what a glow up is.
That's a glow up. Everybody knows.
Now we all know. Bussin'.
Bussin'. Tell us about bussin'.
That means very good. It's usually referring to food. And my kids have said this, like, oh, this lasagna's so bussin'. They also have said this is not.
This is mid.
This is mid.
Okay, here's a question. Do your twins, because they're 8. Are they using this lingo?
No, they aren't, which helps. They hear their sisters say some of it.
So you're 11 and 14. They say it, but not your 8.
Yes. And I mean, Brooklyn, she's actually almost 12 now. When she's like messaging or like FaceTiming her friends, you know how they have that through like Messenger Kids? Like I even hear them, or they can even like text it through like Messenger Kids. And yes, for sure, like that preteen, teenagers, they are. But yeah, the 8-year-olds are not, which is a blessing for us.
Cole's got his whole own lingo that the 4-year-olds are all doing. So
yes, you'll know this one, flexing, right?
I feel like I'm flexing my knowledge of slang.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Because you want to show off your achievement or your skill. So you have a huge skill of the lingo and slang right now for today's teens. I mean,
no cap.
Shiloh is getting near the end, right, of her teenage years. She's in college. You're kind of mentioning like she's not using these words as much, you think?
Yeah, I mean, she'll say things like she'll say them to be funny, and mainly because us moms have picked up on some of them, and so like it's not as cool, but like she'll say sus, she'll say mid, she'll use some of them. She doesn't do like, I think the ones that are more junior high are like gyatt and busted. I don't know. That's kind of in the middle there. But she says some of them. She says salty a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say there's a few that are, I think, more younger, and maybe like there are some that were made by games, like Skippity Toilet. That became popular from like weird YouTubes and gamers. So that seems like a younger, maybe teen. Or what was that other one? Fandom Tax, which is from some popular gamer. Fandom Tax. Like if you took somebody's, like if you were eating a bag of chips and I took a chip, I'd be like, Fandom Tax. So, but I feel like that's probably younger. I don't know.
And for all those moms out there, if we want our kids not to say certain words, all we have to do is just start saying it, and then it won't be cool anymore. Kind of like what happened with Facebook. Like teenagers are not on Facebook.
No.
So just, parent tip, if you want your kid to stop, just start saying it all the time. If you start saying
for real.
Right? Like that hits different or same or fire, do it for the plot, totes.
Do it for the plot. Tell us, do it for the plot. That's new to me. Tell me that one.
That is to encourage yourself to take a chance on something. So like, I'm going to try out for the basketball team. Even if I don't make it, I'll do it for the plot. So like, I'm going to like just try it, and I'm doing it for the story, right? So like,
I like it.
Do it for the experience. Do it so I can tell other people. And especially right now, because like social media is so huge and like selfies and pictures and everything. So it's like, hey, I'll have a good story to tell other people, or have a good picture. Do it for the plot. Do it for the plot. And I mean, that's including theater. Like that's right. That's just showing our kids. They have an appreciation for theater.
They are so brilliant.
Lit. That means like exciting, excellent. It does mean intoxicated. So be careful, moms.
I know. So does turnt. There's times. See, that's the danger of this new lingo is we'll say things like the youth pastor at the kids' church kept saying, he's like, yeah, tonight I'm going to go home and Netflix and chill. Which he thought it meant
say that.
I'm going to go watch Netflix and relax. So it's stuff like that, like turnt, lit, if your kids are saying that.
I do want to encourage moms, when you do hear certain words, to Google that, because within their slang and this lingo, or even in the texting culture or messaging culture, what you might think is one thing could clearly be something else. Or just like that lit, I'm so lit is going to be different than that's lit. That's two different things. So like moms, don't think everything's the same. You might want to Google some things. And we're not talking about some of the things that you guys should know. I'm just going to say that there were specific words I did not put on this list because we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it.
I would talk about it.
I know. That's on point.
That's right? On point. Now I want to know, what are these words? Was it turn?
Okay, we have to talk about this, and then we can talk about the 80s, because Andie, you've got to talk about Andie's 80s lingo. So for like the texting culture, right? GTG. You guess
Gotta go. Got
Perfect.
to go.
Okay, you'll know this one. IYKYK.
If you know, you know.
Good.
Oh.
WYA.
Where you at?
Good. WYD.
What would you do?
Nope. It is not WWJD.
Would you do? What is it?
What you doing?
Oh, what you doing?
Now,
okay.
for us moms born in the 1900s, like my children like to tell me often, we would want to say like, what are you doing? What you doing is not grammatically correct. It bothers me.
What you doing?
That's what bothers me. I'm like, it's not grammatically correct. But they did not add the A. It's not W-A-Y-D. It's W-Y-D. What you doing?
We can't handle it. Especially if there's not like commas, punctuation marks. Have you noticed they all text lowercase?
Why is that?
And like I's are lowercase. Like your phone automatically does it uppercase. So how are they doing that? Like, are they turning that off so that they don't have capital letters? I don't understand it.
I don't know. And they intentionally do not use punctuation. Intentionally. Like, you don't use the punctuation. Now, us moms, we all use punctuation. Those teenagers do not use punctuation. Okay. F-R-F-R.
For real, for real?
Nice. Yes. G-G. Not Gigi, our grandma.
Gigi.
God bless grandma.
Just kidding. Gigi would be gotta go.
Good game.
Oh, good game.
Yeah. So, you went to someone's game. Good game. I like that. I think that was great. I-C-Y-M-I.
In case you missed it.
Nice. See, you could tell you have a teenager. This is impressive. Does she text you this?
Yeah, I think she does. No, but I don't know how, like, when I've seen things like this, like, I'm one who, like, has to figure it out. I think that's why I know some of this lingo. As soon as I hear it, I'm like, what is happening? What are people saying? Just like when the girls behind me kept talking about Sigma, I'm like, now I have to find out what Sigma is. So, but we're out of time, I think.
Okay, just a few more. Real quick.
Okay, do
quick.
Do it.
NGL.
Not gonna lie.
Perfect. RN.
Nurse. Right now? That would be my guess.
Okay, this is a funny one. It's, you know how it says like GM, which is for good morning? But there's a meme that says like, General Motors to you too. And every time I see it, it just makes me laugh because when I see GM, I do think of General Motors. It's so funny. SMH is shaking my head. SO is shout out. Okay, V is very. And W is win. So there's that too.
Oh.
Right? Like they don't
like
even write.
W, get the W or take the L.
I mean, win is 3 letters, and that's too much for these teenagers.
Win. I can't be saying 3 letters all day.
So that is hilarious. And there's so much more, obviously. But we wanted to share this with the moms because whether you have a little one or you have teenagers or like Andie has older kids, I mean, this is happening all around us. This language, the text messaging, the lingo, obviously like the video games or YouTube, like you're talking about, like it's all happening. And whether you're standing in a store like Andie or you have a group of preteens at your house, like you're hearing it from all over. And it kind of came on pretty quickly. And so we just want moms to be aware and to know what's going on and to be able to participate in conversation with teenagers.
Yes. You know which one I still have to figure out is that mewing thing where they like, they do this. Like, what's that? Do you know what that is? They like put their finger on their mouth and then slide it along their cheek. It's called mewing. What is that?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
Is that a prank?
Okay, I think boys might start different lingo than girls. And I'm wondering, because I see more of the boys, I hear, like, when I first hear about it, it's from boys. So I'm wondering, because I think that's a guy thing. I'm going to keep doing it. Anyway.
In the next podcast, we can talk about 80s lingo. Since we didn't.
I think we got some good ones in there.
We did, but there's also some good 80s slang. So we'll do it next time.
It is. It's so funny. I think because we heard so many, like I was raised in public school with like ruder, like things people said were usually like ruder. So how the homeschool world didn't have that or was not allowed. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have. Yo, no cap. No cap. We're not being sus. We're not being sussy bacas. We are just here to tell you that we have to end our show. So you know what would be bussin' if you liked and shared us? Yaaas,
amazing.
If you think our podcast is Gucci, then just share it. Share it. Spread it. Do it for the plot. Do it for the plot.
Right. If you're vibing, if this podcast is vibing.
If you're vibing, I'm dancing.
Yeah.
All right. Till next time.
Bye.
All right. That's all we have time for today. We got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But just remember, you might think you're doing just okay, but we think you're doing really great.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you have a great Mother Funny day. Please like and share our podcast.
But please don't tell our moms.